Good morning, students. Today we are going to see in history, Unit 3, Rise of Marathas and Peshwas. First, we are going to see about the introduction. The rising power of the Marathas in the southwest created a great danger to the Mughal Empire. Shivaji's father, Shahji Bhonsle, who was an officer of Ahmednagar state and later an officer of Bijapur, proved to be a thorn in the flesh of the Mughals even in the Shah Jahan period. But it was his son Shivaji who attained glory among the Maratha. So only Shivaji had attained the glory among the Marathas as he would stop the Mughal Empire's expansion in the Deccan. So he was the one who stopped the Mughal Empire expansion in the Deccan. Shivaji was a gallant fighter, army general and a guerrilla leader. He built up a band of brave mountaineers. So he built up a band of great mountaineers, brave mountaineers who were loyal to him. With their help, he would capture many forts and gave Aurangzeb commander a tough fight. As the Maratha power were growing strong, the Mughal Empire weakened. The Mughal emperor had to recognize the right of the Marathas to collect their Chawad tax. So they have to collect their Chawad tax all over the Deccan. Warfare and opened opportunities for talented commanders who contributed to the vigorous expansion of the Maratha power early in the 18th century. So during the 18th century, many opened opportunities were created for the talented commanders who contributed for great expansions of the Maratha power. The Prime Minister of Maratha rulers called the Peshwas. So the Prime Ministers of Maratha rulers called Peshwas from the time of Shahu had real power. So they had the real power, and the eggs of Maratha power, the Peshwas continued their supremacy until 1761. Next we are going to see the factors responsible for the rise of Maratha. First one is geographical features. The physical feature of the Maratha country developed certain peculiar quality among the Marathas. So it developed some different qualities among the Marathas which distinguished them from the rest of the people of India. So they were said to be unique from the rest of the people of India. During the 16th century, the Sultan of Bijapur and Ahmednagar requited them to serve in cavalry. So they recruited them, the Ahmednagar and the Sultan of Bijapur recruited them to serve them in their cavalry. This presence was helpful to Sultan in balancing the political ambitions of the Muslim soldiers in their service. So after recruiting these soldiers, they were helpful in balancing the political ambitions of the Muslim soldiers in their service. The rocky and mountain terrain gave protection to the Marathas from invaders. So these rocky mountains prevented the invaders to come inside to the Marathas. It proved to be advantageous in guerrilla warfare for Maratha. So this was a great advantages in guerrilla warfare for Maratha. Bhakti movement and the Marathas. The spread of the Bhakti movement in Maharashtra helped the Maratha people develop consciousness of their identity and oneness. So the Bhakti movement only created the Maratha people that their identity and oneness. It promoted a feeling. So the Bhakti movement promoted a feeling of unity, especially in terms of social equality. So it created social equality among the Marathas. In the Maratha region, the religion leaders were drawn from different social groups. So in the Maratha region only, the religious leaders were drawn from different social groups. Eknath, Tukaram and Ramdas were the noted Bhakti saints. Tukaram and Ramdas had considerable influence on the lifestyle of Shivaji. So they have influenced the lives of Shivaji and they had admired Shivaji, and Ramdas and Tukaram had a considerable influence on the life of Shivaji. Next we are going to see literature and language of the Marathas. Marathi language and literature also served to develop a unity among the people of Marathas. Imp composed in the Marathi language by Bhakti saints. So the thing composed by the in the Marathi language by the Bhakti saints were sung by all the peoples of all the classes and all castes. So it was sung by all people of all caste and classes. Next we are going to see about Shivaji. Shivaji was born in 1627 and grew up under the care of his mother Jijabai, who influenced him with the great stories of the Hindu epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata. His teacher and guardian Dadaji Kundadev trained him the art of horse riding, warfare and state administration. At the age of 18, in the year 1645, when he entered the military career, he successfully captured Kondanna. Then he succeeded in conquering Raigarh, which was rebuilt by him. Next, we are going to see Shivaji's confrontation with the Sultan of Bijapur. Shivaji became totally independent after the death of his guardian Kondadev in 1649. The strength of the Shivaji army was Mawali foot soldiers. With their help, Shivaji conquered many of the hill fort near Pune. So with the help of the soldier, he able to capture the hill forts near Pune. He captured Purantar from the Mughals. Shivaji military raid angered the Sultan of Bijapur. So he held Shivaji's father captive and released him. So I released Shivaji's father after only Shivaji promised to suspend his military raid on the Bijapur. So after Shivaji made promise to the Sultan of Bijapur, Shivaji's father was released and he stopped the military raids on the Sultans of Bijapur. So during this period, he toned up his administration. Consolidation of Maratha power. Shivaji resumed his raid after his father's death. So after his father's death, he started a military raid on various places and he conquered Javali in the year 1656. Okay, the soldiers of Bijapur from the hill fortress acquired by the Sultan of Bijapur were driven out. So the Sultan of Bijapur fortress were driven out and replaced with his own commanders. So he driven out all the soldiers and he replaced his own commanders on the fort of Sultan of Bijapur. When the Mughal made a punitive expedition, Shivaji boldly confronted them. So when the Mughal wanted to punish the Shivaji, he boldly confronted them. And in the year 1659, he killed Afzal Khan, a notable general of Bijapur. In 1663, he wounded and chased away the Mughal general and Aurangzeb's uncle Shaista Khan. We are going to see how Shivaji and Aurangzeb. After Shivaji plundered Surat, Aurangzeb sprung into action. An army under the commander of a Rajput general Raja Jai Singh was ordered to destroy the Shivaji and annex Bijapur. So after Shivaji captured the Surat, Aurangzeb swung into action. He came into action. An army under the general of Rajput Raja Jai Singh ordered to destroy Shivaji and annex the Bijapur. Shivaji finally sought peace, yielded the fort, and he had ceased and accepted service as a Mansabdar in the Mughal service for the conquest of Bijapur. So after this, he requested for peace and he had ceased and accepted service as a Mansabdar. So he wanted to accept the post of a Mansabdar in the Mughal service for the conquest of Bijapur. Aurangzeb was determined to stop the Maratha interference in his expeditions against the Deccan kingdom. So he wanted to stop the Maratha expedition to get spread into the Deccan kingdom. So he attempted to patch up with Shivaji, but those efforts failed. In 1670, the Mughal army was helpless when Shivaji again plundered Surat. So, Shivaji accepted peace. He also wanted to work as a Mansabdar in the Mughal period for the capture of the Bijapur, and he also agreed to visit the imperial court at Agra. At the same time, Aurangzeb wanted to stop the Maratha interference in the Deccan kingdom. He wanted to patch up with Shivaji, but it was failed. In 1670, the Mughal army was helpless and Shivaji has plundered again Surat in the year 1674. Maratha administration under Shivaji. Shivaji's political system consisted of three circles. So it consists of three circles. At the center was the Swaraj. Shivaji was a caring person and would not allow any people to be harassed in any way. So he don't want any of his people to be harassed in any way. He protected the people from loot and plunder for which they are required to pay chawat. So he protected the people and for that which they are required to pay chawat. Chawat is nothing but 1/4 of the revenue as protection money. And Sardesh Mukhi, an extra 1/10 as the chieftain's due. In the third circle, Shivaji's only objective was plunder. So he don't want any people to be harassed. So for that they are paying the Chawat tax. That is nothing but 1/4 of the revenue as protection money. And Sardesh Mukhi, an extra 1/10 as chieftain due. Next we are going to see how the administration. Each village had a powerful headman called Patil, who was assisted by a village accountant of a keeper of records, Kulkarni. So Kulkarni is nothing but he was an accountant of a keeper of records to maintain the village accounts. In the absence of a strong central government, this local community level officials functioned as the true government. Because of the absence of the strong central government, these local bodies were serving as a true government. So the head of the village is a powerful head of a village man was called Patil. He was assisted by Kulkarni, who is nothing but the accountant of a keeper of records of villages. In the absence of the central government, they functioned as a local community and as a true government. Army of Shivaji. Shivaji gave utmost attention to his army and training of its personnel. So he himself personally trained the army. In the beginning, the backbone of his army was the infantry. So at the beginning of the Maratha power, the backbone of his army was the infantry. Every soldier was particularly selected by Shivaji and was taken into service on the assurance of a soldier already in service. So on the assurance of a soldier already in service. Shivaji took great care in the maintenance and security of his forts. So he take utmost care and maintenance on the security of his forts, around the forts. Retired captain holding a high reputation were put in charge of guarding the forts. So the retired captains were put in high post in charge of guarding the forts of the Maratha. Pradhan. Shivaji designated 8 ministers as the Ashtapradhan. So his 8 ministers were called as Ashtapradhan. Each holding an important portfolio is nothing but posters. Peshwa was the equivalent of a modern prime minister on the Maratha Empire. So Peshwa was equivalent to the prime minister post in the Maratha Empire. Originally, they were the subordinate to the Chhatrapati. So originally, they were subordinates to the Chhatrapati. Shivaji was greatly influenced by the Mughal revenue system. The assessments were made on the actual yield with 3/5 left to the cultivator and 2/5 taken by the government. So 3/5 were left to the cultivator and 2/5 of the part will be taken by the government. In judicial administration, civil cases continue to be decided by the Panchayat, the village council, while criminal cases was based on Shastras, the Hindu law book. So according to the judicial administration of the Shivaji, civil cases were being held by the Panchayat, the village council, while the criminal cases were looked after by the based on the Shastras of the Hindu law book. So according to the Shastras that is followed in the Hindu law books, the punishments will be given to the criminal cases. Going to see about Shambhuji. Shambhuji succeeded Shivaji after a succession tussle with Anjay Datto. Durgadas of Rathore Marwar and Aurangzeb rebels and Akbar came to Maharashtra and took shelter in Shambhuji's court. Aurangzeb viewed this development very seriously and wanted to finish off Shambhuji. But Maratha under Shambhuji was in no position to resist. They don't want to oppose the Mughal. Aurangzeb himself arrived Deccan in 1681. His main goal was to annex Bijapur and Golconda. In the over short period of time, Shambhuji was captured by the Mughal and after torture put to death. We are going to see about Shahu Maharaja. Shivaji's grandson Shahu means honest. Shahu means honest. Originally a name given by Aurangzeb to contrast his character with that of Shivaji. So to compare his character with that of Shivaji, that Shahu was given. During the first half of the 18th century, consolidation of royal powers was achieved through conferment of royal entailments upon who served Shahu. So up to 18th century, the royal powers were given who served as Shahu. The royal powers were given who served as Shahu. Shahu means honest. During Shahu's 40 years of ruling, there were increase in the territory under the Maratha control. So the territory became expanded under the Maratha control, from which tribute was regularly extracted. More centralized and strong state structure also began to take shape. So under Shahuji 40 years of rule, a strong power, central power was created and structure also began to take shape. Every household, including that of landed household, profited from state employment. So the structure became very strong and every household, including that of landed household, profited from state employment. So it was profited under the state employment. Next we are going to see about Peshwas. Balaji Vishwanath, who ruled from the year 1713 to 1720, began his career as a small revenue official and became Peshwa in 1730. So at the earlier stage, he was a small revenue official. Much against the advice from his close circles, Shahu appointed 20 years old Vishwanath, eldest son Baji Rahu, to occupy the office of Peshwa. So after the advice from his close circles, Shahu appointed a very small 20 years old Vishwanath eldest son Baji Rahu to occupy the office of Peshwa, a great position in the Maratha administration. Next we are going to see about Baji Rahu, who ruled between 1720 to 1740. Baji Rahu decided to launch a major Maratha onslaught against the Mughals and the Nizam. So he wanted to launch major Maratha powers against the Mughal and the Nizam of Hyderabad. He assumed the power of commander-in-chief. Instead of relying the traditional same allied group, namely Deshmukh, he wanted to change a group and give commands to Gaikwad, Holkar and Shinde or Scindia families who were loyal to the Emperor Shahu. Instead of giving the same thing to the traditional group, he wanted to give to other groups like Holkar, Gaikwad, Shinde or Scindia families who were loyal to the Maratha Emperor Shahu, his father Balaji Vishwanath, and to him. Going to see about Balaji Baji Rahu, who ruled between 1740 to 1761, the Maratha Emperor. When Balaji Baji Rahu was a Peshwa, Emperor Shahu died in the year 1749. So there was a struggle among the royal family of the Marathas. At the time only the Balaji Baji Rahu was ascending the place. All powers and authority was now concentrated in the Peshwa's office. Balaji Baji Rao now commanded an army of paid soldiers. So he commanded an army who was paid and the soldiers were paid. The Maratha soldiers were not permitted now to retire from battlefields each year for the purpose of cultivating their lands. So the Maratha soldiers were not permitted to retire back to the battlefield each year for the purpose of cultivating their lands. Soldiers were required, so they wanted the soldiers to live in the forts and towns far away from their home. They were trained as an infantrymen as well as horsemen. So under the period of Balaji Baji Rahu, the soldiers were not permitted to retire from the battlefield for cultivation, the land. Soldiers are requested to live in forts and towns far away from their home. They were also trained as infantrymen as well as horsemen. The large guns were nominally under the command of Maratha officer. So the large guns were under the control of Maratha officers. But those who fried and maintained them were mostly Portuguese, French and British. So during the period of the Peshwa Balaji Baji Rahu, the northern frontiers of the Maratha state were rapidly touching Rajasthan, Delhi and Punjab. So under this period only, his emperor Maratha get to expand under Rajasthan, Delhi and Punjab. At some point, the Maratha tributary extended itself to within 50 miles of Delhi. Between 1745 and 1751, plundering expeditions were launched yearly by the Maratha chieftain Rahuji Bhonsle. So the Balaji Baji Rahu was a Peshwa. Peshwa is nothing but holding the equal power of a prime minister post in the Maratha emperor. So under his period only, the soldiers were given training as an infantryman, horseman. The soldiers were not required to live in forts away from the hometown, and during this period only the Maratha get to expanded under Rajasthan, Delhi and Punjab. After to some point it was extended within 50 miles away from Delhi. So the Balaji Baji Rahu was one of the famous rulers in the Maratha emperor. Next we are going to see the Maratha administration under Peshwa. The revenue administration of Peshwa was headed by a key official called Kama Vistar. It was headed by a key official called Kama Vistar. He was appointed by Peshwa. A small staff or clerk and servants were employed to look after the revenue records. These records were randomly checked by the office of the Peshwas. A prospective tax or revenue collector who won the contract was expected to have a reputation for wealth and probity. So they were required to pay the anticipated revenue 1/3 to 1/2 either out of their own wealth or getting borrowed from the bankers. So for a prospective tax, the revenue collectors have to pay 1/3 to 1/2 either from their own money or getting borrowed from the bank as a tax to the people. So these were the administration things that have happened under the Maratha period. Next we are going to see about the fall of Maratha. The imperial movement of the Maratha sadly ended at Panipat near Delhi in 1761. So the Maratha rule came to end in the year 1761. After the attempt of extending their empire to Punjab, which was checked by the king Afghan Ahmad Shah Abdali. So they wanted to extend their domain till Punjab, which was checked by the Afghan noble Ahmad Shah Abdali. Abdali invaded 8 times before finally marching on to Delhi. So these Marathas were now divided among several commanders who approached the battle with different tactics. Artillery decided the battle in January 1761. The Maratha army was shattered and the surviving men took 6 months to return to Maharashtra from Panipat to report the tragedy. By then, the Maratha supremacy over the subcontinent was effectively over. So what happened means the Maratha Empire was destroyed in the year 1761 at the Battle of Panipat. So Habdali, who devastated the army commanders of the Maratha Emperor, and the Maratha army was shattered, and surviving men, the remaining men, took 6 months to return to Maharashtra from Panipat. So the remaining soldiers took 6 months to return from Panipat to Maharashtra to report the tragedy. By then, the Maratha supremacy over the subcontinent was effectively over. These were the major causes for the fall of Maratha. So, the wanted to extend the empire to till Punjab, and that was the main cause for the fall of the Maratha Empire.